Here's a relatively useless piece of information about Suikoden 2 that you may not have known about. So if you select New Game and don't even try to select a name, the game will actually determine a random name for you. Although one of the random names that can be selected is Nash, who's actually the protagonist of the Suikoden games, which we never got here. Okay, Lard's not actually one of the random names, but if you knew about this secret, what's one of the weirdest random names you ever got for Suikoden 2? With the release of the Suikoden 2 remaster, there's a surprisingly hidden Easter egg that you can get very early in the game that you are going to want to check out in glorious HD. Just progress the game and engage in this first mandatory battle. So what you have to do to get this Easter egg to work is you actually have to select no here 4 times. On the 4th time, you have to push down and select the bottom one. The reason why this is bad is you have to do this 108 times. Pro tip though, so long as you do over 108 battles in that variety, you'll be fine. So long as you have at least 27,450 potch, you'll be able to activate the Easter egg. So what normally happens in the game is you get to see these flashback sequences in this nice sepia tone. But if you do defeat 108 batches of those reinforcements, you get to see this cutscene in full color. I anticipate this being a trophy. What trophies do you think are going to be in the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster? Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. The Double Beat rune is a missable rune that has an approximately a 2% chance of dropping. You can find a Double Beat rune later in the game in the Muse area against the White Tiger enemies, but I would highly recommend fighting these Cut Rabbit enemies in North Swallow Pass to get them. The reason being is there's this watering hole right here that completely recovers your stats, so it really saves a lot of time on healing. What makes this rune so good is that it gives you 2 attacks for 1 turn, with the caveat being that if you get countered, you take double damage. Despite this, it's well worth your efforts to pick the Double Beat rune up, and don't that just double beat all. In Suikoden 2, you can actually recruit this Squirrel buddy way earlier in the game than you're really expected to. Normally you're supposed to recruit Muku here, somewhere around the Green Hill area. You can actually recruit his whole family there, but we're saving that for a different video. But if you want to recruit Muku early, when you're expected to go back to Kiaro Town, if you go in the backyard of your house and check this tree on 3 separate occasions, on the 3rd occasion, you happen to get a flying squirrel. Muku, however, is the only squirrel that is necessary as a Star of Destiny, so it's best to pick him up now so you have a rocky start. So just yesterday, I found out in Suikoden 2 that when you're fleeing Kiaro Town, you can actually abandon your sister Nanami. So if you're looking to do this when Joey is saying that you should go save your sister, you just say, nah, let's hurry and get out of here. At first it seems as though it's a but thou must situation, but if you say that you have to hurry out of here on 3 separate times, Joey's just kinda like, alright, now that you've abandoned Nanami, what does that mean for the rest of the story? Does that mean you lose out on Muku forever as well? As it turns out, it's not that big of a deal. You simply gotta play through the game until you have to show up at Muse with a random party and you need an entry permit. When you do, it'll actually play out a unique cutscene with Nanami with Muku in tow. And from here out, the game continues on as normal. What I find interesting though is if you recruit Muku early, you actually have to kick out one of your random party members to make room for Muku. You have no say in the matter. So if you go through all this effort, you won't have to squirrel around with a random party so much, I guess. Suikoden 2, despite being one of the best games on the PlayStation 1, is riddled with translation issues and spelling errors, which is why I absolutely love the sequence of events I'm going to share with you today. Pretty early on, you encounter this entertainment troupe, and in order to get back home, you have to go through what Rune explains as the North Swallow Pass. Nothing really weird yet, African or European, right? But when you enter the area, the game clearly states it's North Sparrow Pass. With a game with as many translation issues as this, that's not a red flag on its own. However, I can't help but raise my eyebrow when this music starts to play, and Rune here says she wants to have a little talk with this guard. You know, away from the rest of the party. This even raises Joey's suspicion, asking what she did to him. In which case she just says, nothing. Just an adult conversation, that's all. North Swallow Pass. Adult conversation. What, was your adult conversation about your angry blow scroll, Arena? I can't let you pass. Oh, is that so? You can't let me pass? Well, I'm just gonna push this door out of the way. You're not supposed to go here till like 2/3 through the game. Now, we gotta get to the closest city and not die. That's what's called the Muse Matilda glitch. You can level up to like level 30 some odd here. Use draw assistant, school setting, orphanage, sorceress, war story. Okay, don't give up. Now, we should start in the Mist Dungeon. But when you come back to life in this game, you keep your levels. So that's how we're gonna beat the piss out of Raud. Finally. And that's it. That's the only difference, but that's him beat. There's quite a number of missables in Muse and Suikoden 2, one of which being the missable recruitable character Clive. If you want to recruit Clive, be sure to go due south from the blacksmith area, and you'll see this lady in white asking you of a favor in this sketchy alley. Regardless of what you say, she'll give you 2 packages. Once she does, go due north back up to where the blacksmith is. This will trigger a cutscene with Clive. From here, just try to leave Muse, and Elsa will give you sound set number 1. You won't be able to recruit Clive yet, but once Elsa uses you as a meat shield, you know you've done right, and you'll be able to recruit Clive later in the game. In Suikoden 2, normally you're expected to recruit Anita way later in the game, either after recruiting Valeria for an earlier recruitment, or a little bit later if you recruit Kazumi instead. Although you can recruit Anita as early as Muse the second time you go there if you follow her instructions. Once you've successfully completed a task for Anita, be sure to leave Muse completely and re-enter it, or else she won't give you a new task. If Anita tells you her glass is empty, simply go over to Leona and she'll fill up her wine for her again. Then talk to her again and she'll appreciate you helping her get drunk. Be sure to have antitoxin in your inventory. If you do, give her one when she asks for it. If she asks you if a female swordsman is rare, be sure to tell her, but I've never seen one that's so beautiful. After you've done enough tasks for you, she'll ask you if you want something. Then you just tell her to come join her group, and she'll be like, alright. Which is great news, because I need a new party member. There's a lot of missables in Muse and Suikoden 2. Today I'm going to show you 2 more missables in this town. The first one being in Town Hall. If you go in this room here, you'll find yourself a question mark book. And if you get it appraised, you'll find out it's Old Book, Volume 4. Next up, if you're diligent about talking to NPCs in the game, you'll find the Tutas here and you can recruit them. As far as recruiting Stars of Destiny go, recruiting Tuta here is not a big deal. He'll automatically join the party later in the game. However, after recruiting Tuta in this manner, go back in the room and talk to Dr. Juan, and if you do, he'll give you recipe number 3. Quick Suikoden 2 PSA, Flick will make mention of a character named Gilbert in the first battle outside of the town of Muse. Apple will even make mention about Gilbert if you could only get him to switch sides. And it's important that you do here because Gilbert is a missable party member. All you have to do, though, is ensure that Gilbert sustains 1 sword's worth of damage. Gilbert can still die in this battle, and you won't want that, so I would advise using the main character's Bright Shield rune ability to heal up Gilbert. So long as Gilbert survives this battle, Gilbert got freed from the Highland Army, and he'll join up as a Star of Destiny. In Suikoden 2, Hans, who can be recruited in the town of Two River at the inn, is your key to unlimited money. So in order to set this glitch up correctly, you have to have more money than the armor that you are buying, but you don't want to have twice as much money as that armor in order for this to work. For the sake of this example, we're going to use scale mail. So because it's 22,000, we want more than 22,000, but less than 44,000, which we have with the 41,000. Next, you need to make sure that the main character has the armor in question, so the scale mail. But you also have to make sure that 2 of your party members have no armor equipped at all, which is what Flick and Futch are going to do for this example. So now we're just going to go ahead and buy the scale mail and say that we're going to put it in the bag. But when they say decide, is this okay, just back out. And then when you do that, just go ahead and actually buy it for Flick and for Futch. You'll know that you're on the right track if the money hasn't changed at all. But after you've done this, if you back all the way out, boom, you'll be making money Hans over fist. In Suikoden 2, when you're navigating your way through Necklord's castle, there's actually 2 secret rooms that you can miss if you're not thorough. First one being is if you push this gargoyle statue out of the way, it'll pop open the secret room. And you might be wondering, how would you know to do this? Well, if you make your way to Necklord's jail in the basement, you'll see that these gargoyle miniatures are positioned in such a way to hint towards the secret room. Anyway, if you make your way into the secret room, you'll find yourself a darkness rune, which is basically a soul eater rune. Now for the second room, to get access to the secret area, You simply just have to mirror all these unlit torches with the topmost row here. And how are you supposed to know to do this one? I don't know. In this room you can find a blue ribbon. It's a female-only accessory that raises defense by 6 and makes it so you can't be targeted by the target ability that enemies do. However, if you miss this item here, the blue ribbon is a unique accessory to this room, so just make sure you don't miss the blue ribbon in the first place. In Suikoden 2, Richmond, the private investigator, in my opinion, is one of the best party members you can even recruit as a Star of Destiny. Richmond will be available to recruit in Radit Town shortly after the quest line that's involving him. But in order to recruit him, you have to choose heads or tails correctly. However, you'll come to notice after a while it seems like he's cheating. He always seems to get the opposite of what you choose. So because of that, just give up for now, but just make your way into the bar here and talk to this NPC, who will tell you that Richmond is a filthy cheat and he's using a trick coin. So be sure to take this coin that this gentleman gives you, then go back and talk to Richmond. So be sure to tell Richmond to use the real coin, and then he'll apologize for tricking you and actually join your party. The reason why recruiting Richmond's so important is not only does he tell you interesting side bits about every character you've recruited, he'll also give you hints about characters that you don't quite know how to recruit yet. So if you're trying to mitigate using walkthroughs, Richmond's a must-have as soon as you can get him. 2 pieces of information to share with you today in 2 River regarding Suikoden 2. When Choco here tells you to go meet his granny, you don't have to do it, but if you don't, you actually do miss out on an item permanently. Choco's granny's house can be found in the northernmost section in the Winged Horde area in 2 River. And once you've progressed far enough in the game, when you talk to her, she will recognize you after meeting her earlier, and she will give you a spinach seedling, which again, is missable. The second point of interest in 2 River is just to the left of the entrance of the Wingley area at this building. If you make your way down this ladder, and just check this bookshelf here, you'll find yourself some pornographic books? What kind of naughty magazines do you suppose these are? North Swallow Pass Monthly? Wingley's Gone Wild Edition? In Suikoden 2, Choco goes out of his way to terrorize you during your time in 2 River Village, but eventually he turns a new leaf and does join your party as a Star of Destiny. However, other than recruiting Sid to your party, wouldn't you love to get back at Choco for everything he put you through? If you want to get the revenge that Choco so rightly deserves, and your first option here, choose I guess so. And even though it seems like another but thou must situation, you keep selecting absolutely not until we get into a dialogue loop with Fitcher and Choco. At this point, you know it's okay to tell him sure okay. And if you follow the steps correctly, our friend Choco here will join the party at level 1. Is there any benefit to doing this, you may ask? Well, it should make Choco more tender for when Sid does the world a favor and eats him. I love Suikoden 2, but good lord, it's a glitchy mess. Case in point, Yuzu here. She ends up taking care of all the livestock in your town. But, if you open this treasure chest with a necklace in it, in the same forest that you would recruit Yuzu in, it actually prevents you from collecting a sheep for your town. Conversely, if you collect this lamb in the Kobold Village forest, you can't get that necklace. Oh no. So just to be safe, when you're in this forest, don't collect any of the treasure chests until you get this lamb, or else it'll be on the lamb. In Suikoden 2, you're met with a very important choice. Who are you going to choose, Valeria or Kazumi? No matter if you choose Valeria or Kazumi, you'll be able to recruit all 108 Stars of Destiny, so that shouldn't factor into your decision. If you choose Valeria, she's a pretty good swordsman and she starts with a Falcon rune. She also makes it easier to recruit Anita if you don't recruit her back in Muse. Valeria also has a Unite ability with Anita that does 3 times normal damage to one enemy, leaving her imbalanced. Whereas with Kazumi, she has a unique to her rune called the Shrike rune. Recruiting Kazumi also makes it so you can recruit Mondo and Sasuke way earlier in the game than you would if you recruited Valeria. For me personally, recruiting Kazumi is a no-brainer, so we can recruit other Stars of Destiny way earlier in the game. But let me know in the comments who you would rather take, Valeria or Kazumi. In Suikoden 2, throughout the duration of the game, they build up Lucablight here as a world beater, and then when you finally encounter him, they make it pretty clear. He's one of the toughest boss fights in the entire game, That is, unless you know about this little exploit I'm about to show you. First things first, before you enter the war room before the Lucablight fight, make sure that the hero is somewhere in the back row. Then when it comes time to decide who you're going to take with the hero to fight Lucablight, be sure to just leave the hero by himself. If you've set this up correctly, the hero will be in the back row. So because of the way Suikoden 2's battle system works, you have short range, medium range, and long range characters to choose from. Lucablight is a short range attacker, and because of the way we set up the hero in the back row, that means that Lucablight is unable to even attack you in this fight, giving you a free win. Damn you, hero! If you were only 3 feet closer, I would have you! Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. These Ragged One enemies can be found outside of the town of Greenhill, but only before you liberate the town, which is annoying because they have not only 1, but 2 missable items that are rare. The first item in question is the Chick, which isn't actually for your farmer, it's for bath time. You can also get this from the Guardian Deity later if you want, but don't. Speaking of the Guardian Deity, you can also get the Ragged One to drop turtle plans too. Not only if you're a completionist, you're going to want to get the turtle plans because they are missable, like I said, after liberating Greenhill. But there is a wide variety of hard-to-get items that you can get from the Guardian Deity, so you're going to want it just to have your bases covered. In Suikoden 2, if you want a trading post in your HQ, you have to recruit none other than Gordon. He can be found in Greg Minister. However, in order to actually recruit Gordon, you have to make $50,000 by trading. You can either do this the hard way by figuring out the prices of everything in the trading post in order to make maximum profit, or you can use this shortcut I'm about to show you. If you head to the cafeteria in your HQ, if you actually go north here, you can talk to this infantry guy, and he actually gives you access to a minigame. Among other things, one of the prizes you can get for doing this minigame on the $10,000 game is a gold bar. You're going to want to win 2 of these. Depending where you are in the playthrough, I'd recommend going to Highway Village in the Matilda area to trade your gold bars for maximum profit. You can go to Rikaku Hamlet to trade in 2 gold bars. You can also trade gold bars in Crom Village, found in the Tinto area. Either way, once you've made 50,000 pots using gold bars, you'll be able to get your gourd on with the Stars of Destiny. In Suikoden 2, when you recruit Bedeau between the Greenhill-Matilda border, he'll give you 2 mindfulness crystals. Mindfulness crystals make it so you can recruit animals that you can't normally talk to. There's 4 animals to choose from, but you can only recruit 2 of them. In order to recruit all 108 Stars of Destiny, you have to recruit Ida here, who normally comes with this griffin named Feather. However, there is a very underhanded way that you can recruit Ida without Feather coming along. During the recruitment process, you're expected to fight these 3 griffins. However, what's not at all obvious is you can lose this battle and not receive a game over. After losing this fight, Ida will beat herself up over not being able to save the griffin and wander off. So where you're going to want to go now is if you go east of the armor shop in Forest Village, you can sneak up behind this house here, follow all the way to the end of the secret passageway and ask Ida to join you. Here, she will actually join you without Feather. Now, Ida, hope you're happy with yourself now that you can recruit the octopus instead. In Suikoden 2, if you want to recruit all 108 Stars of Destiny, you have to find the Rikaku Hamlet, which being a ninja village, isn't exactly easy to find. However, to get to Rikaku Hamlet, all you have to do is make sure that you're just past this area with the ladders. So once you've loaded in the next screen after the aforementioned ladder area, all you have to do is just go due south from this spot right here and just follow along the path. If you decided to recruit Kazumi, you can pretty well come to Rikaku Hamlet as soon as you're finished in Greg Minister. But if you recruited Valeria instead, you're gonna have to wait until you have about 100 or so of the Stars of Destiny before you can even access the hamlet. Either way, once you've gained access to Rikaku Hamlet, Mondo and Sasuke of the Ninja Clan will join your party. Also, bear in mind to talk to Sasuke standing in front of the trading post sign in Rikaku Hamlet while you're leaving. Otherwise, he won't actually join the party. I guess this is just a last-ditch effort for him to hide like a ninja. Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. Eventually, you'll recruit a couple of Stars of Destiny that'll assist you in your farm. Tony, who you can recruit in Forest Village, he's your resident gardener. He's the one that you give the seeds to that you find strewn about the countryside. And Yuzu, your shepherd, which we've touched on in a previous video. If you get any livestock, you bring it straight to Yuzu. The reason I bring this up today is there's a bug involving both Tony and Yuzu that you need to be made aware of. If you bring a duplicate item to Tony or Yuzu, meaning that if you give Tony 2 spinach seedlings, for example, or Yuzu 2 chicks, they'll take both of each. but it'll only count as one, meaning you've locked yourself out of a completionist run if you weren't aware of this fact. So in the case you do have one of these duplicate items, be sure you go talk to Barbara and just deposit one of each of them and then talk to Tony or Yuzu. Then you can go back to the storehouse and withdraw the duplicates, which will make it so you can get around this little glitch. If you didn't know about this, it's not the end of the earth. It just means you can't make as wide a variety of stuff in Hayo's kitchen. Here's a quick fishing minigame PSA for Suikoden 2. Firstly, I just want to bring up the whole point you're catching fish, aside from a little bit of side income, is that you can cook foods in Hayo's kitchen, but bear in mind that once you have 3 of each fish, you don't actually have to catch them anymore, even if you make food out of them. Now maybe you started fishing later in the game, but you want to use some recipes that require salmon or shrimp, and you're seeing that they aren't coming up in the fishing. Well, what you have to do is you have to catch X number of a lower style of fish before the next one becomes available. So for example, if you catch 3 whitefish, you can then catch shellfish. Then once you catch 3 shellfish, you can catch shrimp. And believe it or not, your skill, otherwise known as the tech skill, the higher number it is, the easier it becomes for you to catch fish. Now this is what a shrimp or possibly a salmon would look like, with exactly 186 tech. And just for the halibut, I'll show you compare and contrast what a shrimp looks like at 255 tech. Quite a noticeable difference. In Suikoden 2, you'll have the opportunity to partake in some Cookoffs if you visit Hayo's kitchen. Here are some tips so you can win the Cookoffs every time. So for example, Futan Chen makes mention of Gilbert missing his wife's fish cooking. Therefore, you should try to feed him a fish dish if you can. But Tenku here, on the other hand, hates sweets but loves spicy, so bear that in mind too. Now, as much as I would love to have cheesecake as an appetizer, this isn't going to work for the cook-off, so you're going to want to make something simple like a salad for the appetizer. So a good standard to go by is to choose some tomato soup and put some mayonnaise in it to get a tomato salad. Do not try this at home. Now, we don't have much in the way of fish for this cook-off, so we're gonna go ahead and choose ramen, because we know that Tenku likes spicy. Then after you select all the courses, you have to do what is perceived to be a minigame, but after testing it, I discovered that it doesn't matter whether you mash here or not. The judges will give you the exact same score, so be sure to follow these tips, and you'll avoid yourself a kitchen nightmare. Here are my recommendations for food items from Hayo's kitchen in Suikoden 2. Mix teriyaki with a red pepper. You'll be able to do 300 damage to all enemies with a barbecue bomb. More concerned about keeping your party alive? Add some salt to a meat pie to make a meringue pie. This will raise one party member's defense by 1.5 in a battle. Don't forget to stop off at the ice cream buffet. If you add some soy sauce to some ice cream, you'll get some soy ice. This will cause toasty status on your party, and if you want to recruit Tetsu, the bath maker, you're going to want to be having toasty status. But if you want to try out a couple of other positive status ailments, make ice cream with some sugar to get some pudding for the hyper status. Or you can add red pepper to some ice cream in order to cause boost status. Or just add some soy sauce to some ramen to make soy sauce ramen, which not only heals you, but cures every status ailment. Last but not least, combine soy sauce with the sashimi combo to get the ship combo. This is the least expensive method for reviving your party members with an item. Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. Tony also has a mini game that you can play. It's literally WhackAMole, and there's actually some unique prizes to be won here. If you complete the beginner WhackAMole, you earn yourself a mole helmet. It raises your defense by 12, and it prevents the unfriendly status from occurring. If you complete regular mode of WhackAMole, you get yourself a mole shield. Not only does it raise your defense by 22 points, you also have a 5% chance to repel magic. Congratulations if you beat hard mode. The prize is a mole suit. The mole suit increases your defense by 29 points. It's also earth resistant, and you can't be targeted while wearing it. You can also get a mole suit if Vicky wrong warps you to the second floor of the Ratatown item shop. So it's up to you whether you think it's harder to do Whack-A-Mole on hard mode or get this wrong warp if you want a complete mole suit set. I don't really recommend ultimate mode unless you're crazy about Whack-A-Mole, but the only prizes you can get here are an additional one of each set of the mole suit. And that's mostly it. In Suikoden 2, there's certain aspects that make it obvious that there was a New Game Plus planned, but it was scrapped. If you make a second trip to the Tinto Mine, if you have a listening crystal, you can recruit this blue octopus named Abizoa. If you dig into Asbizboa's personal life with Richmond here, he'll tell you that Asbizboa actually has a wife. And if you go back to the Tinto Mine after recruiting Asbizboa, you could actually recruit his wife, Relodia. She doesn't count as a Star of Destiny, meaning that if you recruit her, you actually are locked locked out of the best ending in the game. However, if you use our friend Richmond to dig into Relodia's life, he'll hint towards our octopus husband and wife having a child, and if you head to the docks in the HQ, you can actually find the child octopus, who is also not a star of destiny. Seeing as we locked ourselves out of the best ending, this octopus family must be really good in battle, right? Not only is Chuchara not good, Chuchara doesn't even have a unite with their family. Richmond doesn't even have any dirt on Chuchara, other than his family might love him, who knows? Here's a couple of out-of-bounds glitches that I just discovered in Suikoden 2. The first one I want to show off here is in the dojo in your headquarters. If you go through the door on the right-hand side here, at the very bottom, you won't actually load in the next area, and you can wander around in this blackness. You can look around a bit, but it's a mostly harmless glitch. You can walk in and out of the dojo again as you please, and it won't really affect anything. There's another bug regarding the entrance to your HQ that's similar to the last one, but way more game-breaking. If you just kind of hug along this wall here and go down into the shadow, sometimes the game will just crash. Although other times when you're leaving the HQ in this manner, you'll get lucky and you'll get this garbage tile set on screen instead. Either way, if you've done this, now the game's soft-locked and you're gonna have to reset to continue. But so long as you don't leave the HQ like a goober, you shouldn't have to worry about any of this. Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. Labronte here in Ratatown is the appraiser for your HQ. In order for him to join you, he says he wants a Celadon vase. However, what he's actually looking for is a Celadon urn. These can actually be found in various trading posts, but personally I like to earn one in the rope climbing minigame found in your HQ. While it is more convenient to have them at your HQ, Labronte's actually the most expensive appraiser in the game. Talk about gratitude for the Celadon vase. In Suikoden 2, normally in order to figure out what one of these question mark items are, you have to take it to an appraiser and pay them a fee. But due to the myriad of glitches that are available in Suikoden 2, you can actually appraise your items for free. First things first, obviously get an item that needs to be appraised. Next up, you're going to want to pay your lovely scroll maker a visit, Rora. She could be recruited later in the game in Tinto City. What Rora is supposed to do is take any one of your runes that you have in your inventory and turn it into a scroll. This can be very useful for the non-magic wielding Stars of Destiny you have. But if all you want to do is find out what your mystery item is, just go to it in the scroll menu, and due to an oversight, you can find out what the item is. In this case, we have a hex doll. Now granted, if you want to actually use the item, you do still have to get it appraised, but now that we know this is just a hex doll, we can save ourselves $400 and just throw it away. In Suikoden 2, if you enter and exit the dojo in your HQ enough times, you'll actually find some hanging ninjas by these windows. And if you're real lucky, you can actually encounter more than one ninja this way, in this case 3. So now we know it's not just one ninja moving around. In any event, if you talk to this ninja in particular, he'll tell you that this too is training. Although the rest of them actually have useful information, such as this one in the middle saying to check behind the appraisers and rock axe. And if you go hang out back here like the ninja said, you'll find a violence rune here on the shelf. If you actually equip the violence rune, it will apply berserk status upon taking damage in a battle. If you talk to this ninja, he'll tell you to check out front the blacksmiths in Tinto. And if you check this minecart full of coal, you'll receive a power ring. Finally, this hanging ninja will tell you to check a basket in Lake West. And if you check this basket full of vegetables, you'll receive the kindness rune. There's a lovely way to exploit the kindness rune that I'm gonna get into in a future video. Did you know about these hanging ninjas? If so, hang out in the comments and let us know. There's all kinds of fun to be had with the kindness rune in Suikoden 2. You can find it in this basket full of vegetables in Lake West. In essence, the kindness rune raises the attack of a party member the longer that they're in your active party. However, there's another side to the kindness rune. If you know about it and utilize it correctly, is one of the most powerful runes in the game, who for a point of reference will do about 14 damage to one of these squirrels with a red cape. Now the trick to the kindness rune is, despite the fact that your power goes up for the longer a party member is in your active party, their power will actually go down when they die in battle. Therefore, if Hannah falls in this battle, it'll actually underflow her kindness stat to the most maximum value. Now that Hannah's fallen in this battle, let's equip her with the kindness rune and compare the damage level. Just bear in mind, you'll have to routinely knock out the party member with the kindness rune equipped, or else it will flow back to 0 and do very little damage. Now that Hannah's killing enemies with kindness, she's doing 974 damage. Quick Suikoden 2 PSA. When you're in the Rock Axe region, if you go to Highway Village, you can talk to Humphrey and Futch, and eventually you'll wind up at Rakatai Mountain here in order to finish the quest line and recruit them as Stars of Destiny. However, once you've completed this quest line, it seems as though you can't re-enter this area. This can be problematic, because there's a number of Guardian Deity plans that can be found here that you can't get anywhere else. However, you can actually re-enter the area under one condition. Just always make sure that Humphrey and Futch are in the party and you're still allowed back. Not sure why this is the case, it's the Hero's Bright Shield rune that allowed access to this area anyway. But at least now you don't have to worry about any more missables messing up your plans. In Suikoden 2, normally if you go to the item shop in Ratatown, if you try to climb the staircase, the woman standing in front of it will not allow you to go up there, telling her that you can't go that way. However, if you talk to your resident teleportationist Vicky in your HQ, she actually has a very low chance of teleporting you to the wrong area. And if you're lucky, if you're trying to teleport anywhere, sometimes she will teleport you to that upstairs area. If you do, she'll go, huh? And if you do wind up here, you'll find that there are 5 treasures that you can steal from this item shop. A dragon armor, a mole suit, a mega medicine 9, a gold emblem, and last but not least, a blue gate rune, which are hard to come across, so it's great if you can get an extra one. Although be sure to grab the treasures before you poke around here too much, because if you try to leave or check this door, this woman will find you up here and she'll kick you out of the area, and you'll have to wrong warp back here again. In Suikoden 2, after you're like, hey Jude, do you want to come work for us at our HQ? He'll end up being able to make you a Guardian Deity statue. It seems as though it's just something that's simply cosmetic, but you can actually get some really good stuff through these Guardian Deity plans. Be careful, because you can only get 1 prize per playthrough. If you do rabbit, turtle, you'll net yourself not only a prosperity rune, but you'll also get yourself a fortune rune as well. Seeing as we're using the Hans money glitch, I don't really care so much about the prosperity rune. However, if you make dragon rabbit, you'll net yourself a dragon incense, as well as a fortune rune. The Dragon Incense heals every party member by 50 HP in battle, but it never runs out. Last but definitely not least, and my personal favorite of the bunch, Unicorn, Turtle Unicorn, is none other than the Hunter rune. The Hunter rune drops your hit percentage to 5%, but if you do land a successful hit, it guarantees that you will get an item from an enemy. You can actually make the hit percentage 100% if you know what you're doing, and we're going to talk about this in a future video. In Suikoden 2, the Hunter rune is the perfect rune for completionists. It does lower your attack percentage to 5%, but when you successfully hit an enemy, they are guaranteed to drop an item, which is still pretty good compared to the 1 in 128 drops that some of the enemies in this game have. You can actually boost the hit percentage up to 100. Here's the trick. Once you've attached the Hunter rune to somebody's weapon, make sure that you attach a Wind rune to somebody's hand or forehead. A few party members start with Wind runes, but you can just buy one in South Window. For the sake of this example, we're gonna get a double bead rune from the Cut Rabbits here in North Swallow Pass. First off, use the Wind rune's ability Wind of Sleep. It's gonna put a row of enemies to sleep if you're lucky. Sleeping enemies in Suikoden 2 can't dodge hits, meaning that if you use the Hunter rune bearer against whatever enemy's asleep, you'll be able to get a guaranteed hit. You still have about a 1 in 3 chance of getting the item that you want, but it's better than the 1 in a million you'd be shooting for normally. In Suikoden 2, if you want to get all the recipes in the game, you have to know about this glitch. Due to the way that recipe data is stored, if you talk to Hi-Yo too early and give them certain recipes, it will permanently lock you out of getting other recipes in the game. My advice to you would be not to collect any of the recipes that are dropped by enemies, at least until you encounter these Do-Re-Mi elves. This is where the Hunter rune comes in clutch, and you're going to want to focus on the yellow Do-Re-Mi elf, because that's the one that drops recipe 34. The Do-Re-Mi elves found between the Greenhill Matilda border are not the right ones. They'll drop sound set number 2. What you want to do is go to the path behind Greenhill Academy. Those are the right ones for recipe 34. Next, go to the forest behind Cobalt Village and fight these Eagle Men. They have a chance of dropping recipe 12. Lastly, you get recipe 21 from the Land Sharks below Two River Sewers. These 3 recipes in particular are interconnected in a weird way, so just be sure to hold on to all 3 of them before handing any of them into Hi-Yo. There's still 2 more recipes you have to worry about, but I don't have time for that in this episode. In Suikoden 2, Hi-Yo, other than being Scott Hall's favorite star of Destiny, is the resident chef for your HQ, and he's the man you want to give your recipes to. However, if you want to hand in recipes, you better do it in the right order, or else you'll be locked out of getting certain recipes permanently. We already discussed the recipe 34 love triangle in a previous video. Today I'd like to talk about recipe 36 and 37. Recipe 37 can be found in Gerudo's study in Rock Axe Castle. However, if you turn in recipe 37 before getting recipe 36, you can no longer get get Recipe 36. So before you even think about getting Recipe 37, be sure to fight the Highland soldiers in Rock Axe Castle during the invasion. Specifically target the Highland soldiers with the bow. Use the Hunter rune on them if you want to get Recipe 36. I totally understand why you wouldn't want to miss Steak, but if you hand this into Hi-Yo before getting Recipe 36, that'll be an even bigger mistake, and not well done. In Suikoden 2, depending on who you bring to the bathhouse and what antiques you place, you can get special scenes that you wouldn't otherwise get. Put down 6 vases and 2 flower paintings, you get some flowers blooming and this lovely sound. However, if you place 6 hex dolls, their eyes will start glowing and it'll make a spooky sound. Want to get even creepier? Also add 2 graffiti paintings as well and they'll start crying blood into the water, turning it a lovely shade of red. Place a peeing boy statue in the top right hand corner of the man's bathhouse and it'll do what you think it'll do. Place down 6 Persian lamps and it's your lucky day. 6 genies will come out, wishes not included. Place down 6 blue dragon urns in addition to 2 landscape paintings and you'll get 2 Shenrons bordering the sides of your bathtub. Perhaps the rarest one of them all, put 3 goddess statues on the women's side and 3 knight statues on the men's side. The women will turn green and the knight statues will be standing at attention with their swords up. Be sure to shower us with Suikoden bath time trivia below. We have even more bath time fun today for Suikoden 2. All of these scenes are going to involve playable characters. If you recruit the blue octopus and the red octopus and also decorate your bath area with 6 octopus urns, it'll make the red and blue octopus do a little dance. If you bring the hero Flick and Victor to the Cypress Baths, we'll get a rub-a-dub-dub 3 men outside of a tub scene. If you bring your best bald-headed buddies LC Chan, Gantetsu, and Bolg into the drum can baths, we get ourselves a bald-headed purification head ritual, and it also steams them up to max immediately. If you bring the hero Victor and Flick to the jungle baths, you'll get another additional heartwarming scene. If you take Vincent and Simone into the bath with you with a party full of men, they'll actually occupy the women's side of the bath instead. If you bring your best bath time buddies Team Victor to the marble baths alongside Nina, we'll get another piece of bonus dialogue. Lastly, if you place 6 Chinese dishes, Long Chan Chan and Wakaba will come down and then fly away again because their planet needs them. In Suikoden 2, if you want to level up your weapons, you have to speak to a blacksmith. Eventually, as you play through the game, you get your very own blacksmith at your HQ. However, you have to find hammers to your blacksmith in order to raise your weapons to the maximum level. Here's where all the hammers are located. The first hammer, the Iron Hammer, can be found in Forest Village if you talk to this gentleman in the armor shop. He'll sell it to you for $2,000. In order to get the second hammer, make your way to Greg Minister and go to the first room on the right with this knight in it. He'll be more than happy to give you the copper hammer. To get the silver hammer to raise your weapon level up to 15, after you liberate Green Hill, if you go to the blacksmithery that's in the academy, talk to this kid here and he'll give you the silver hammer. Last but not least, the golden hammer, which you can only find as a rare find in Saja Village, which is in the Highland territory. Stop! Hammer time. In Suikoden 2, forgive me for spoiling that if you use your save data from Suikoden 1, one of the unlockables that you have access to is that you're able to use the hero from Suikoden 1, McDole. But much like many other aspects of Suikoden 2, the hero Suikoden 1's name is even bugged out. Sure, right now it looks like it flowed through correctly. I did name him Bob Dole in Suikoden 1. However, that's because that capital letters take priority over anything else that you put in his name. So for example, if I named him Bob Dole, but only the first B was capitalized, in this game his name would be Bic Dole. This is more quick Suikoden 2 PSA territory, but just bear in mind that making your character's name all capital letters will be a capital idea if you wanted to display correctly. Here's how you recruit the entire Squirrel family in Suikoden 2. If you didn't happen to recruit Muku Muku early in Kiaro Town, you can still recruit Muku Muku by going back and forth between the Muse Green Hill border when you have an open party member slot. If you want Maku Maku to join up, you have to walk between Green Hill and Two Rivers City with an empty party member slot. Miku Miku can be recruited by walking between Forest Village and Green Hill Path. Meku Meku can be recruited by walking between Green Hill and the Green Hill Matilda border along the path. Last but not least, to recruit Moku Moku, you have to go to the spot that's just below Forest Village. Moku Moku will appear before long. Well, now that we've recruited the entire Flying Squirrel family, what's their benefit? Well, you see, they have a 5 Squirrel Unite that instantly removes one enemy from the battle. However, this ability will even work on bosses, albeit rarely. You can actually beat any boss in the game with this Unite. Isn't that crazy? Lucablight, More like, Luca, Squirrel! Did you know that in Suikoden 2, there's actually a secret bad ending? If you want to experience this part of the story on your own, it's during the section in the Tinto area where you have to defend against Necklord. Nanami will insist that you two run away and start a new life. You just agree with her and say, yeah, we should run away. I'm gonna leave what happens here mostly spoiler-free, but if you want to continue on and actually get the bad ending, make sure that you go to Crom and activate the cutscene there before you can run away. But if you just go south through Drakemouth Village and keep deciding that you're gonna run away, you'll ultimately be led to this picture of a cabin, indicating that you have completed the bad ending. However, if you make it to Drakemouth Village and decide to go back to Tinto, something interesting happens. Once you finish the Tinto section and go back to your HQ, you can actually get a unique Star of Destiny from this whole ordeal. His name is Boris, and he's Ridley's son. This is the only way you can get him. I'd tell you more, but I'm worried that you might be thinking to yourself, don't bore us with the details. Here's a fun but otherwise harmless glitch you can pull off with the hero's Bright Shield rune in Suikoden 2. First off, you need the Bright Shield rune's 4th ability, Forever Sign. Next, you need to make sure your combined party hit point total has been reduced by over 2,000 HP. Once you've sustained over 2,000 damage combined in your whole party, be sure to choose Forever Sign on any enemy you want. Normally how Forever Sign works is it will deal damage to an enemy that is the leftover amount that your party would be healed. But in this case, since we're healing over 2,000 HP, the game doesn't know what to do with that, and it will make the damage dealt seem to overflow to a ridiculous number, in this case 24,000. However, it only appears to do 24,000. Sometimes it'll look like it heals the enemy, but it's just a weird overflow bug in the number. It actually doesn't do any damage to the enemy at all. Which Suikoden glitch would you forever sign as your favorite? In Suikoden 2, it's pretty easy to get a character up to level 99 if you know what kind of prep work you need to do. First things first, you have to get a character to level 39. I find the best place to do this is with a full party in the Tinto area. It's hard to get over level 39 by mistake. However, if you overshoot and have a fortune rune, you can get the character up to level 49 and this will still work. For the sake of this example, we're gonna get Rune up to level 99 because, well, we had an add-all conversation in North Swallow Pass and we both decided that she'd be the best fit. Next, what you want to do is affix a blue gate rune to the hero's forehead. Then you want to drop his HP pretty low. I recommend doing this in the final dungeon. 6 Highland soldiers will do just fine. So now what we want to do is we want to use the blue gate rune's Empty World ability. Not only will this take out all of the Highland soldiers, it will take out the hero as well, ensuring that Rune gets all of the experience from this battle. Enjoy the final boss Spankfest. Suikoden 2, Clives Quest. Let's do it. Step 1. Don't permanently miss Clive the second time you arrive in Muse. Step 2. Recruit Clive in South Window when it's time to go to Lake West. Next, go to the Lake West Inn and talk to this gentleman right here. You have to get here in under 11 hours. Next, go behind the trading post in Forest Village and talk to this Elza in under 13 hours. Good job so far. Go to the Rock Axe Inn next in under 14 hours. After liberating Rock Axe, go back to Ratatown with Clive and enter the pub. Do this in under 15 hours. We're almost there. Go to Jostin Hill the next time that you can freely wander around Muse. I've heard there's no time limit for this, but you should try to get here in under 18 hours. Congratulations, if you made it to Saja Village in under 20 hours, you've completed Clive's side quest.